After 3 years of silence, I got a letter from my daughter, and my heart damn near jumped out of my chest. I was about to tear it open when my wife grabbed my arm. "Warren, stop," she said. "Look closer." I studied the envelope again, and what I saw made my blood run cold. But let me back up. My name is Warren Mitchell Morrison. I'm 70 years old, retired mechanical engineer. My wife, Claudia, and I raised our daughter, Vivian, in Evanston, just north of Chicago. We gave her everything that mattered: love, education, a solid foundation. Vivian grew up sharp as a tack. Computer science degree from University of Illinois, worked her way up to IT manager by 33. Claudia and I were proud as hell. Then she met Derek Holloway. I knew something was off from the start. Too smooth, too charming. He worked in sales, dressed the part, knew exactly what to say. Vivian fell hard. They got married 5 years ago. Derek insisted on paying for everything. Expensive venue in Lincoln Park. Should have been my first warning. Guy had just enough money to look rich, but not enough to actually be rich. The first year was fine. Vivian called every Sunday, came over for holidays. Derek played his part well, laughing at my jokes, complimenting Claudia's cooking, talking Cubs with me even though I could tell he didn't give a damn about baseball. Year 2, the calls got less frequent. Always an excuse. Work project, Derek wasn't feeling well. They were renovating. Little things that didn't add up. 3 years ago, everything fell apart. The confrontation. It was a Saturday in September. I'd helped them move a bookshelf the week before, and papers spilled out of their glove compartment. Most were nothing, but one caught my eye. A casino receipt from Grand Victoria in Elgin. $1,200 lost in a single night. I didn't say anything that day, but it ate at me all week. $1,200 on one receipt. How many other nights had there been? I did what any father would do. Called a buddy whose nephew works casino security. Asked careful questions. Derek Holloway was a regular at 3 casinos around Chicago. Not the kind who wins big. The following Saturday, I drove to their townhouse without calling first. Derek answered the door. "Warren," he said, that practiced smile sliding into place. "What brings you by?" "Need to talk to my daughter." Vivian appeared behind him, looking tired in a way that worried me. Dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back messily instead of her usual neat style. "Dad? What are you doing here?" I pulled out a photo of the casino receipt. $1,200 in one night. Want to tell me how many other nights there have been? "That was a work event," Derek said immediately. "Client entertainment. Bullshit. I know the difference between a business expense and a gambling problem." "Dad, this isn't..." Vivian started. "How much has he lost, sweetheart? How much of your money has he thrown away?" Derek's hand went to Vivian's shoulder, possessive. "I think you need to leave, Warren." "Am I wrong? Show me your bank statements. Prove you're not bleeding your wife dry." "This is my marriage," Vivian said, her voice getting that defensive edge I recognized from her teenage years. "My life. You don't get to come here and, when your husband's destroying your financial future, yeah, I do get to step in." What fathers do is trust their daughters to make their own decisions, even when those decisions are dead wrong. The argument escalated. Derek stood behind Vivian with wounded dignity while she defended him. By the end, she'd ordered me out and told me not to come back until I could respect her choices. That was the last real conversation I had with my daughter. 3 years of silence. The phone calls stopped immediately. I tried the next day, left a voicemail apologizing for showing up unannounced but standing by what I'd said. No response. By October, Derek started answering her phone. "She doesn't want to talk to you, Warren. Leave us alone." "Let me hear that from her. You heard it when you upset her. Don't call again." Click. I tried going to their house in November. Derek met me in the lobby. "This stops now," he said. "You're harassing us. Keep it up and I'll call the police. I just want to talk to my daughter. She doesn't want to talk to you. Get that through your head. Second time, he met me at my car, phone out. One more time, and I'm filing a restraining order. Christmas was brutal. I got Vivian a leather journal with her initials embossed in gold. She'd kept journals since high school. It came back unopened. Return to sender, stamped across the package. Birthday cards came back. Mother's Day flowers for Claudia came back. Every attempt at connection bounced back like stones against a wall. The worst night was Christmas Eve, 2 years in. Claudia had made Vivian's favorite cookies, gingerbread with cream cheese frosting, out of habit. We stared at them on the counter, knowing Vivian was 10 miles away and might as well have been on Mars. I went to the garage and cried like I hadn't since my father died, 70 years old, weeping in my truck because my daughter wouldn't take my calls. Claudia found me an hour later. Didn't say anything, just held my hand until I could breathe again. "We'll get her back," she whispered. I wanted to believe her, but that night, I wasn't sure. By year 3, I'd mostly given up. That night, I told Claudia I was done trying. Some bridges, once burned, couldn't be rebuilt. Until 3 days ago, when that letter arrived. August 31st, Vivian's 38th birthday. I'd thought about her all morning, remembering birthday breakfasts when she was little, the way she'd race down the stairs in her pajamas. The mail came at 2 in the afternoon. I was in the garage, organizing my toolbox and trying not to think about my daughter spending another birthday without us. Claudia called from the house. "Warren, get in here." Something in her voice made me drop the wrench and run. She was standing in the living room, holding an envelope, white, standard size, but the handwriting made my chest tighten. "It's from Vivian," Claudia whispered. "Look at the return address." I took it with shaking hands. Vivian's Lincoln Park address, her careful, precise handwriting spelling out our names, postmarked 2 days ago, timed perfectly to arrive on her birthday. "She remembered," I said, my voice rough. "After 3 years, she remembered we'd be thinking about her today." Claudia touched my arm gently. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" "Been ready for 3 years." I was about to tear it open when Claudia's hand clamped down on my wrist. "Wait, what? Look at the handwriting again. Look closely." I studied it more carefully, irritation prickling. "It looks fine to me." No. Claudia had been an English teacher for 30 years before retiring, spent decades analyzing student work. "The slant is wrong. Vivian's writing always slants to the right. This slants left. Maybe she's stressed. Handwriting changes. Not the fundamental slant. That's muscle memory." She held the envelope up to the light. "And look at the pressure. Vivian has a heavy hand. These letters are too light." My stomach started to sink. "Look at this A in Warren," Claudia continued, pointing. "Vivian makes her A's perfectly round. This one has a pointed top, and she never makes her R's like this, with that extra loop." The more I looked, the more obvious it became. Someone had tried to copy Vivian's handwriting, but gotten the details wrong. The spacing, the rhythm, the way the pen moved across the paper, all slightly off. "Who would do this?" I said quietly. "I don't know. But this isn't from our daughter." The hope I'd carried for 10 minutes collapsed. Someone had studied Vivian's handwriting, timed it for her birthday, used our pain as a weapon. "We have to open it," I said. "Need to know what this is about." I tore open the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of white paper, the same careful forgery. "Dear Dad," I read aloud, "I desperately need your help. I'm in the hospital and require emergency surgery that my insurance won't cover. The doctors say I need $8,500 immediately, or I might not survive." Claudia gasped softly. "I know we haven't talked in years, but you're the only one I can turn to. Please don't let our past disagreements prevent you from saving your daughter's life. I need you to immediately transfer the money to this cryptocurrency wallet. A long string of random characters followed. Time is critical. The surgery is scheduled for tomorrow morning. I'm sorry it took a crisis to reach out, but I'm desperate. Please help me, Dad. Your loving daughter, Vivian. The letter fluttered onto the coffee table. That's not how she talks, Claudia said. She never called you Dad in letters. Always Daddy when she was younger. Cryptocurrency, I said, my engineering brain kicking in. Vivian works in IT. If she needed money, she'd use Venmo or Zelle. And 8,500? That's oddly specific for an emergency. No mention of what hospital, what surgery. Nothing that proves this came from her. I picked up the letter again, reading with fresh eyes. Generic medical emergency designed to create panic. Request for immediate action. Cryptocurrency for untraceable payment. This was a scam, but not a random one. Whoever wrote this knows about our situation, I said slowly. They knew Vivian's name, our address, that we've been estranged. They knew to time it for her birthday. Derek, Claudia said. The same thought had been forming in my mind. He's the only one who'd know all those details, who'd have access to samples of her handwriting. Why would he do this? Same reason he does anything. Money. I stood up, reaching for my phone. I need to call Vivian, make sure she's safe. I dialed her number for the first time in over a year. 4 rings, then voicemail. That professional, distant greeting I'd memorized. Vivian, it's your father. Call me back as soon as possible. It's important. I tried again. Same result. Left 3 messages total, each more urgent. The last one laid it out. Someone's using your name to try to scam us. They sent a fake letter asking for money. I need to know if you're safe. Call me immediately. Claudia was watching me with worry. Warren, what are you going to do? I grabbed my car keys. I'm driving over there. Warren, no. Last time. This is different. I'm warning her that someone's committing fraud using her identity. I headed for the garage. She has a right to know. What if she doesn't believe you? I stopped, meeting her eyes. Then I'll show her the letter. Let her see the handwriting that isn't hers. The drive to Lincoln Park took 45 minutes. Someone had studied our family carefully enough to forge Vivian's handwriting and target our pain. Derek Holloway was the only person who fit. I'd suspected a gambling problem 3 years ago. Clearly, it had gotten worse. Bad enough to resort to fraud. Question was, did Vivian know? Lincoln Park looked the same. Expensive townhouses, manicured gardens, young professionals in designer athletic wear. I found parking 2 blocks from Vivian's place and fed quarters into the meter. Their townhouse was 3 stories of red brick with black shutters. Lights were on. Someone was home. I stood at the bottom of the steps, looking up at that burgundy door. 3 years since I'd last stood here. 3 years since my daughter chose her husband over her father's warnings. I rang the doorbell. Footsteps approached. The security peephole darkened, then lightened. A pause. Locks turning. Derek opened the door. Warren, he said, surprise flickering before that practiced smile appeared. This is unexpected. Need to talk to Vivian. She's in the middle of... It's important. Something in my tone registered. He stepped back, calling over his shoulder. Viv, your father's here. Vivian appeared, wearing casual clothes, her dark hair shorter than I remembered. She looked healthier than a year ago, which relieved me. No signs of emergency surgery. Dad? What are you doing here? I pulled out the letter. Did you write this? She took it, brow furrowing as she read. I watched confusion replace surprise. I didn't write this. She looked up sharply. Where did you get it? Came in today's mail, on your birthday. Dad, I haven't written to you in 3 years. I didn't write this letter. The conviction in her voice answered one question. Whatever this scam was, Vivian wasn't part of it. Then who did? I asked, watching Derek in my peripheral vision. Who would forge your handwriting to ask for $8,500? You tell me, Vivian said, her defenses rising. You're the one who brought it here. Someone used your name, your handwriting, your identity to commit fraud. That's convenient, Derek said, an edge in his voice. Fabricate a letter as an excuse to show up here after we asked you not to. Fabricate? I turned on him. Why would I do that? Because you've been trying to contact Vivian for 3 years, and this was the only way left. That's a pretty elaborate con. Forging my daughter's handwriting just to knock on your door? Does that make sense, Derek? More sense than someone randomly targeting our family. Random? No. Targeted? Yeah. I pulled out my phone, showing the photo of the casino receipt I'd kept for 3 years. $8,500. Oddly specific number, about what someone might need to cover a bad week at the casino, or make a payment on a bigger debt. Derek's jaw tightened, just for a second, but I caught it. Dad, that's enough, Vivian said, stepping closer to Derek. Protective, just like 3 years ago. You can't just show up making accusations. I'm asking questions. I looked between them. Someone knew enough about our family to target us specifically. Knew your birthday, your handwriting style, that we've been estranged 3 years. That's not Google information. Could be someone from Vivian's work, Derek said quickly. Someone with access to her files. Could be, I agreed. Or someone who lives with her. Someone who needs money badly. Someone who's been keeping her isolated from family because he doesn't want anyone looking at the finances. Dad, Vivian started. How much does he owe, sweetheart? How much gambling debt? Get out, Derek said, composure cracking. Get out now or I'm calling the police. Good idea. Let's call them. Report the fraud. Let them investigate who wrote this letter. I held up the envelope. I'm sure they'd be interested in handwriting samples, cryptocurrency transactions, following the money trail. For just a moment, I saw panic flash across Derek's face. Dad, please, Vivian said quietly. Just go. I didn't write that letter. I don't know who did. I can't help you. Can't or won't? Both. She moved to close the door. Don't come back without calling first. I tried calling 3 times this afternoon. You didn't answer. Then take the hint. The door closed with a soft click. I stood there for a moment, letter still in my hand, feeling like I'd missed something important. But I'd accomplished one thing. Confirmed Vivian didn't write it, and put Derek on notice that I knew what he was up to. I drove to Davis Park, the same place where I used to take Vivian when she was little. Sat on a bench overlooking the pond and studied the letter again. $8,500 wasn't random. It was calculated. And Derek's reaction when I mentioned casino debt, that microsecond of panic before he covered with anger, told me everything. He'd written the letter. I was sure of it. I pulled out my phone and called Nancy Rodriguez, our neighbor whose daughter works in HR. Nancy, it's Warren Morrison. I need a favor. I explained the situation. Nancy listened without interrupting. I can't help with credit reports, she said finally. That's illegal, but I know someone who can check public records, court filings. If Derek's been sued for debt, that'd be public. That would help. Give me his full name and address. I did. Nancy promised to call back within 2 days. When I got home, Claudia was waiting. I told her everything. Derek's reaction, Vivian's denial, my certainty Derek was behind it. What now? She asked. Now we wait. If Derek wrote that letter because he's desperate for money, he'll make another move. Desperate people always do. That night, I barely slept. Kept running scenarios trying to figure out Derek's next move. If he had serious gambling debts, he was dealing with impatient creditors, the kind who don't wait for payment plans. 2 days passed like slow torture. No calls from Vivian, no response to my visit. Nancy texted Sunday afternoon. Found something. Call me. I called immediately. Warren, I had my friend check court records. Derek Holloway has been sued twice in 18 months, once by American Express for $8,700 in unpaid credit card debt, once by Midwest Capital Solutions for $13,500. My pulse quickened. What's Midwest Capital? Debt collection agency. They buy bad debt and try to collect. And Warren, there's more. Grand Victoria Casino filed a civil suit 6 months ago. Derek owes them $12,000 in unpaid casino credit. There it was. The casino connection I'd suspected 3 years ago. So he owes at least $34,000 that we know about, I said. At least. If he's got casino debt, he probably has other gambling loans that haven't hit the courts yet. I thanked Nancy and told Claudia. We sat quietly, processing. $34,000. No wonder he was desperate enough to commit fraud. Monday morning, I filed a police report with the Chicago PD Fraud Division. Detective Marcus Chen took my statement, examined the letter, promised to investigate. We'll analyze the handwriting, trace the crypto address, he said. If we can prove who wrote this, we'll file charges. I left feeling both relieved and frustrated. The wheels were turning, but slowly. Wednesday evening, my phone rang. Vivian's number. I answered immediately. Hello? Dad. Her voice sounded strained, tight. I need to talk to you. Can I come over? Of course. When? Now. I'm in my car, 20 minutes. She hung up before I could ask anything. Claudia and I waited in the living room. When Vivian's car pulled into our driveway exactly 20 minutes later, we both stood. She looked terrible. Eyes red from crying, hair uncombed, wearing sweatpants and a hoodie from her college days. She clutched a manila folder against her chest. Sweetheart, Claudia said, moving toward her. Vivian held up a hand. Let me show you something first, before I lose my nerve. She opened the folder on our coffee table. Inside were several sheets covered in handwriting exercises, row after row of attempts at copying letter formations, my letter formations. What am I looking at? I asked, though my heart was pounding. Practice sheets. Derek was trying to copy my handwriting. Her voice cracked. I found these yesterday when I was looking for our insurance documents. They were hidden in a folder marked business expenses in his desk. I picked up one sheet. Attempts at writing Dear Dad over and over, each iteration getting closer to Vivian's style. Another sheet had practice versions of her signature. A third showed draft versions of the fake letter. The evidence was overwhelming. When I confronted him last night, Vivian continued, words coming faster. He denied it at first, said maybe someone planted them. But when I threatened to call you, he broke down, confessed everything. She sat down heavily. Claudia immediately sat beside her. He has gambling debts, Dad. Serious ones. $37,000. He's been going to casinos in Hammond and Elgin 3-4 times a week for 2 years. The money isn't just his. It's mine, too. Joint accounts, credit cards in my name. He drained everything. Jesus, I muttered. He targeted you because he knew about our estrangement. Thought you'd be so desperate to hear from me that you'd send money without verifying. The $8,500 was supposed to be the first payment. He planned more letters, different emergencies, until he got enough to cover the debts. I sat down across from her, anger at Derek mixing with fierce protectiveness. How long has this been going on? At least 3 years, maybe longer. She wiped her eyes. You were right, Dad. 3 years ago when you tried to warn me, you were right, and I chose him over you. I let him convince me you were trying to control my life when you were trying to protect me. Vivian, no, let me finish. She looked up, meeting my eyes directly for the first time in 3 years. He's been manipulating me this whole time. Controlled our finances, isolated me from you and Mom, convinced me you were the problem. When I look back, I can see it so clearly. How he always had an excuse for why I couldn't visit. How he made me feel guilty every time I wanted to call you. Claudia put an arm around her shoulders. He's a professional manipulator, honey. Don't blame yourself. But the signs were there. The secrecy about money. The way he controlled my schedule. She pulled another paper from the folder. I found bank statements, cash advances on our credit cards, loan applications with my forged signature. I'm liable for all of it. We'll fix this, I said firmly. Tomorrow we're talking to a lawyer, getting you out of this marriage and protecting what's left of your assets. I already called a lawyer this morning, filed for divorce this afternoon. She looked at me, tears streaming. I can't stay married to someone who would steal from my parents by pretending to be me. I didn't trust myself to speak, so I just held out my arms. She fell into them like she was 12 years old again. That first night, I couldn't sleep. Kept walking past Vivian's old room, seeing the light under her door, knowing she was safe. Home. Around 2 a.m., I heard soft crying. I knocked gently. Come in, Dad. She sat on her childhood bed, holding the stuffed elephant I'd won at the state fair when she was 8. I kept thinking about all the Sundays you called, she said. All the birthdays. 3 years of nothing because I believed his lies. Don't apologize for being manipulated by an expert. I should have known. No. I sat beside her. What matters is you figured it out. You came home. That's all that ever mattered. She leaned against my shoulder. We sat until sunrise, not talking, just being father and daughter again. Over the next 3 months, everything unraveled fast. I met with Detective Chen the day after Vivian came home, provided him with the practice sheets she'd found. The handwriting analysis came back definitive. Derek Holloway had written the fraudulent letter. We're filing criminal charges, Chen told me. Mail fraud, identity theft, attempted wire fraud. He's looking at 18 to 24 months if convicted. There's more, Chen continued. We traced the cryptocurrency wallet. It's been used in 4 other similar scams in the past 6 months. 2 of them worked. Elderly couples sent $14,000 total before realizing they'd been conned. Your quick thinking with the handwriting saved you from being victim number 5. Vivian took the news hard. He's been doing this to other families too? Looks that way. Vivian's lawyer, Patricia Vega, moved quickly on the divorce. We're filing on grounds of fraud and financial malfeasance. Given the criminal charges, we should be able to protect most of your assets. The full scope of Derek's destruction became clear over the next weeks. Casino gambling, $12,000. Credit card cash advances, $9,000. Loan shark in Hammond charging 15% monthly, $6,000. Plus another $10,000 in private loans Vivian hadn't known about. Total, $37,000, most hidden through careful manipulation of their finances and mail. Derek was arrested in October. His lawyer tried to negotiate, but the evidence was too strong. The practice sheets, the handwriting analysis, the cryptocurrency trail, testimony from other victims. The trial came in February, 6 months after that fake letter arrived. I attended every day, sitting with Claudia. Vivian had to testify. When she took the stand, I watched her transform. This was the competent, intelligent professional we'd raised. She spoke clearly, calmly, devastating Derek's defense with simple facts. He systematically isolated me from my family for 3 years, she testified. Controlled our finances, made me believe my parents were the problem. Meanwhile, he was forging my handwriting to scam them. The jury deliberated 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. 18 months in federal prison. 3 years supervised probation after release. Restitution to all victims. 5-year restraining order from contacting Vivian. When the verdict came down, Vivian squeezed my hand. Let's go home, Dad. And we did. Epilogue. 1 year later, August 31st came around again, Vivian's 39th birthday. We spent it like we used to. Breakfast at Lou Mitchell's, then a Cubs game at Wrigley. The Cubs lost spectacularly, giving up 6 runs in the 8th. I made terrible jokes about their bullpen. Vivian laughed anyway. It wasn't perfect. Vivian still saw a therapist twice a month. Still had nightmares sometimes about Derek showing up. Still flinched when she checked her bank balance, even though the divorce settlement had protected most of her assets. 3 years of manipulation doesn't vanish overnight. But she was healing. Her own apartment in Andersonville, 20 minutes away. Promotion at work to senior IT manager, dating someone new, a quiet guy from her building who took things slow, learning to trust her own judgment again. "How are you really doing?" I asked during the 8th inning. "Better. Not great, but better." She smiled genuinely. "Some days, I'm angry at myself for wasting 3 years. Other days, I'm just grateful I got out before it got worse." "You didn't waste anything. You learned something important." "What's that?" "That your old man isn't always wrong." She laughed and pushed my shoulder. "Don't get cocky, Dad. You're still wrong about the designated hitter rule." After the game, back at the house, she pulled an envelope from her purse. My chest tightened for just a second. Muscle memory from that fake letter. "Real handwriting this time," she said quietly. "Promise." I opened it carefully. Her writing, heavy pressure, rightward slant, perfect round A's. The real thing. "Dear Dad, thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for seeing through the lies when I couldn't. Thank you for still being my father, even when I stopped being your daughter. I'm sorry it took me 3 years and a criminal trial to remember that you and Mom are the only people who will always have my back, who will tell me the truth even when I don't want to hear it, who will love me even when I'm too stubborn to accept it. I love you. Always have. Always will. Your daughter, Vivian." I folded it carefully, not trusting my voice. "Good letter?" she asked. "Best one I ever got." Before we went inside, Vivian asked to see the fake letter one last time. I'd kept it in my desk drawer, evidence of what we'd survived. We stood in the backyard. Me, Claudia, Vivian. I held the envelope. Claudia had a lighter. "This doesn't get to be part of our story anymore," Vivian said. Claudia flicked the lighter. The paper caught, curling and blackening. We watched Derek's forgery turn to ash. "Now we can move forward," Claudia said. Not start over. We couldn't erase 3 years, but we could move forward. Claudia squeezed my hand. Vivian leaned against my shoulder the way she used to when she was little, watching TV on Sunday mornings. On the news, an update about Derek flashed briefly. Transferred to a facility downstate, out in 14 months with good behavior. The restraining order would keep him away for 5 years after that. "Do you ever think about him?" I asked. "Sometimes. Mostly I think about how he made me doubt you." She paused. "But I learned something, Dad." "What?" "That family isn't perfect, but it's real, and real beats perfect every time." We sat together as evening settled over Evanston. Neighbors coming home, kids playing in yards, the world continuing. Not perfect, not fixed. We couldn't erase 3 years of silence, but we had each other back, and we were healing. And sometimes, healing is enough.